So that's all they're going to do. You go straight. So by the time I think it was only 4.5. So yeah. Yeah, that's about it.
It's not today or tomorrow. It's not even what the art.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's right. Everybody is. You know how this goes.
And that's 77.
Yeah, to the left. Well, the same. There you go. So that's.
Number 8.
Yeah, I think it's. We're not building. We're not building like us, we're building for our kids. It's a
You guys see these. Put it like I heard it over the house.
You know, I give it, they talk like it.
Swelling around it. It's a slide, but it's got information on it.
It's just.
Where you're.
Yeah, that's never heard that. Right, yeah. But I think it's. Oh, yeah. That is free.
We had a problem.
And they should. Especially, it's first about.
Yeah.
It's the original.
That's an
Old time, hotel room and it had a.
Just had their actions. They only had 4 shovels. I did. I like the limits. Yeah.
That was their pictures. But I took pictures of people back to there. Okay, let's go.
It wasn't really a ribbon cutting, but that's where you guys have pictures.
Yeah, I don't.
Just saw that, and I just didn't, we needed something up, we needed a picture with all people.
I'm ready.
I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the common council for April 23rd. Can we please have roll call?
Presiding officer, Mayor Dean Vonderheide.
Present.
Councilmember John Schrader.
Here.
Councilmember Chad Leakin.
Present.
Councilmember Vince Helming.
Here.
Councilmember Paul Loride.
Present.
Councilmember Kevin Manley.
Here.
Councilmember Nancy Eckerly. Here. Councilmember Phil Mooney.
Present.
City Attorney Renee Caper. Here. Clerk Treasurer Kirsten Denise here. In order to have a quorum, a majority of the council members must be in attendance. All of the members are in attendance, which is a majority. Therefore, there is a quorum for this meeting.
Thank you, Kirsten. Please take a moment for your own personal reflection. All that are able, please stand and join me for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Minutes were sent out. Are there any additions or corrections to it? If not, I would seek a motion to approve.
Here, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as they were presented.
There's a motion from Nancy,
I'll second.
second from Phil. Any further discussion? All in favor, somebody saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, tonight we have department presentation. Chief Oaksang from Jasper Volunteer Fire Department and Code Enforcement.
Thank you, good evening.
Is it microphone?
Yes. I'll just start off by talking a little bit about personnel. We're currently at 38 firefighters. We had a resignation the last couple weeks ago from a firefighter. We took a leave of absence last year and he came back and it just didn't work out, just didn't fit for him, so. And he did move into a different residence, west of Jasper, so. But anyhow, we're at 38 people right now. And just to highlight a few of these, Assistant Chief Mike Stewart, he currently has 38 years on the fire department. And he has indicated that he would probably serve maybe 2 more years. And that at that time he would like to retire. Tim Berger's a lieutenant, he's got 34 years. Mike Tiley's a lieutenant's got 32 years. Jay Eckstein's got 26. Matt Warner's got 20, so that's some of the longer years that these guys have served for a long time. We're not used to really seeing that over the past years, but some of these guys have stuck in there and been there for a long time. And then we got Wayne Murray as assistant chief. Also, he's got 12 years with us. Brad Hoaksang's got 17 years. Josh Dooley's got 13 years, and Leighton Hoaksang's got 10 years. So there's a good nucleus there to build from. In the future, there's some firefighters that have a lot of training that will be leaders in the future and continue the tradition that the fire department's been over the years. Along with that, 36 of those 38 people are either a paramedic, EMT, or first responder. So when it comes to medical care, those guys are out there and they're able to provide medical care. And it's really good for their where they work at. So their employer also benefits from their knowledge and their training as well. So it's really a good fit for Jasper. A lot of people come in the community and ask how we're a volunteer, how we're able to maintain that. And we give all the credit to the employers because they're the ones that let the firefighters leave and respond to calls. And every one of those guys are still being compensated by their employer, as well as compensated by the city for the work they do. So, but I gave you a sheet of paper, the one there with the fire department. It's a couple pages there. It's our calls for 2024. We ended up with 504 calls total. And that one you have, it starts up in the top. It's January calls and it runs out in February, March, April, May. So, and then on the back, it ends up at the end of the year, and you'll see the total at 504. So that's a breakdown of exactly each month, how many calls. Like January was 48, and then we went down to 40. And then we jumped up to 51, and then we dropped all the way down to 27. So you can see month by month, how busy we are. That is not an all-time high for us, but it's a definite increase from the 2023, which was 463 calls. And it's just a lot of medical calls that we assist the ambulance in if they're either out of the area and need calls for medical assistance, or if they're in the area and it's a call where more than 2 people are needed at a scene. So, you know, if it's a cardiac arrest or an accident with multiple patients, then we're paged as well to assist. So for 2024,
Kenny, I have a question.
sure.
We don't have an ambulance, so what do our guys do then? Just kind of give medical care until someone or an ambulance arrives?
Yep, we provide like medical care, and when the ambulance arrives, then that patient is basically packaged and ready. So we have backboards and things, so we'll strap them on a backboard if it's required. And when the ambulance gets there, they are able to gather our information. We take vital signs and everything that we can do. And then that patient is taken to the ambulance and then transported to the hospital as soon as possible.
Possible, obviously, these guys do a great job, but been to my parents' house a couple times.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Fortunately for us, unfortunately, for these guys there,
Yeah.
every time we've gone, there's been 6 or 8 guys there.
And normally within just a few minutes, there's someone there, because if you take 38 people and you spread them out over Jasper, somebody's there pretty quick. So, but anyhow, so that's how that works. So last year we had 239 of our calls were medical, and that's our highest number. 208 were fire calls. We had 3 extrications. The year before we had 8, so only 3 last year. So that was a good thing. And then we had 54 miscellaneous calls. That can be just accidental alarms, and we just get a wide variety of those. And the most recent one is the delivery drivers keep going in the elevators at some of these places where you have multiple units in, and they push the button that says with the fire hat, which pages the fire department, and it's unfortunate. So we're talking to them, we're reviewing the cameras and stuff to find out, but it's your delivery drivers for your whoever delivers products, whether it's food or things like that, and they're pushing that fire hat. And that's happened too often this year already, so yeah, 15 times. Unfortunately, yeah, that's a very high number for as early in the years we are. So, but we're working with those businesses, trying to watch their cameras to get that. So, but anyhow, so that's kind of a breakdown of our 2024 year. 25, we're already at 178 calls this year, and last year we had 162. So another increase again. And a lot of that just comes back to these medical calls. You know, Jasper's growing, we have more residents, more buildings, you know, and it's just gonna continue to be that way. And the ambulance service, it seems like they're constantly doing transfers. And when they do a transfer, if the Jasper ambulance happens to take that, then another ambulance will come here and stand by. There's 2 ambulances during the day in Jasper, and after 6 p.m., then there's one. They have a dedicated crew that would stay in Jasper, hopefully most all times, but not always. So that's when we're used. So, but anyhow, any questions about our 24 activity? So that's kind of a quick snapshot of that.
How many times did we get to use? I think I heard you talk about one of the loop.
The Lucas device, yes,
Yeah.
yes, last year, so the Du Bois County Leadership Academy raised money, and they bought one for each fire department in the county. So they bought 12. And then we had a local resident, Kevin and Bev Mesmer. They challenged us that if the city would buy one, they bought one. So we have 3. So the lieutenant in charge carries one, the lieutenant in charge over the weekend. He carries one with him that all week, and he'll have that. And then I have one in the truck I drive, and then there's one on the rescue. And that's worked out to be the best fit for us. So 8 times last year, and 6 of those were saves. So they are very expensive. They're $19,000, but 6 of those 8 were saves. We used it twice last week. One of those was successful. But we used it 3 times this year so far. So, but they're proven to be a really good piece of equipment. And then also in the budget last year, we had to put in the paint all 3 fire stations. That was finally completed about a month ago. So that's been done now. That was a little bit late getting done, but that's taken care of. And then we also, we had put cameras up at the other two fire stations. We did not have that because we didn't have internet, and now we do. So, within the first week, we had an incident out there that we could, follow up with that, where people were out there doing things that shouldn't have been. So any of those cameras have proven to be an asset for us as well. But, for this year, we're looking at the tower specs. We've got those completed. So whenever we, down the road, we'll send those out. We know that price is gonna come back about 2.1 million, so, a very expensive truck. And we know it's a 3-year build. That is gonna be an extended delivery to receive that. But the current tower, it is functioning. It is certified, the pump's been tested and everything, so it does meet all the requirements, for that truck. And then also we ordered 10 sets of fire gear, and those actually came in Monday. So those are here now. And then we also need to get a new roof on the Holy Family Fire Station. And that's been in process as well. And as soon as they can get to it, that'll be addressed as well, hopefully this year yet. Other than that, last year we hired 4 new firefighters, Adam Bauer, Austin Schmidt, Trace Weidenbender, and Chase Spears. And they are in the middle of their firefighter training. 2 of those have completed their medical training already, and the other 2 are still on hold. So once we get those 2 guys completed their medical, they'll be fully on board as well. But yeah, by orders, we can go to 40, but 38 is a good number. We're not looking to hire right now, so we'll wait until we, it's always good to hire 3 or 4 at a time. And that way they go to school together, they learn together, they can bounce ideas off each other, and it just helps to do that. So, but, and then last year we came up with an app for our phones. It's called I Am Responding, and that's exactly what it is. When the dispatch starts a CAD sheet and they identify that it's a fire for us or a medical call at the county, our phones alert us, and you can actually click on it and say, I am responding. And you can put whether you're going to the station or you're going to the scene. It will give you a map. It'll show you exactly how to drive there and things like that. And then dispatch can watch and see each one of us. There's a little tag there with your name on it, and they can see how close you are to arriving on scene. They can let the caller know someone is really close or they're like, you know, just only a couple blocks away and things like that. So that's a really good app for us. Pardon me? Probably about 7 months or so. And I can,
6 or 7.
yeah, if any of you want that, just give me your information. I can add that.
Was that something that you like bought that app?
Yes, yeah,
The specific like for firefighters or
Yes.
emergency personnel?
correct, yeah. Yeah, they're nationwide. And I am responding.
Oh,
Yeah. But yeah, if you just send me a note, if you want to be added on that, your phone will alert and you can see where we have a call, and you'll see if it says fire, structure fire, or for the ambulance and things like that. It'll give you the address, and things like that. And of course, it's very good. I just need to know like what phone, like Verizon or AT&T, and you know, we can push all that out to you at no cost. So it's a very good app for us, and it's beneficial. And the best thing is what we've been looking for is a map. It gives us driving directions. It shows you exactly how to get there. So it's a great tool if you're ever interested in that. And then last year we had some donated funds, and we were able to purchase 19 of the P25 radios, and that's the direction where everyone's going to. So thanks to that donation, we were able to buy those radios. So every firefighter now has that radio, and we're only missing a couple for the trucks yet, 4. Once we get those in, then we'll be fully P25, which will be a great thing. The house, yeah, for the single P25 only in there is $1,900. And the officers have the dual, so we always can revert back to VHF, and those are $3,100. So we had that donation. And then the example with the house fire we had on 13th Street a week and a half ago, the radio traffic was clear and concise, and there's never a question about any kind of communication. They work extremely well. So that definitely is the future. But the only downfall is they're a little bigger, but it's okay. It's what we just have to get used to that. And then
4 short right now.
yeah. So in the trucks. So, yeah. So, and that's in the budget as well this year to get that taken care of. So something else that's in process. And then the other thing is a donation. We were able to buy it. It's a combi tool. It's an extrication tool. It's a cutter and a spreader in one. It's battery operated. It's just a little bit bigger in the size of this podium. And everything that everything that we currently do is connected to the truck through hydraulics. And this is like, you can take it and carry it anywhere. So if you need to force open a door or things like that, it's a new tool and that was donated funds as well. So that's the first battery operated tool like that. And so far it seems we're really impressed with it. So
So its own battery, there's a
Yes.
common battery.
no, it's its own battery for that system. Yeah, it's very nice. And you're always welcome to stop by and we can show that and what we have. So, and then the last thing, well, two things, but the ISO, we had an audit last year and Jasper came out very, very well. We were so close to going to a class 3 ISO, but we were 0.41% away from being a 3. So that really speaks volumes for, fire and our water and our dispatch, because we were extremely close and we know next time we'll be a 3, which is unheard of in volunteer fire departments. So, but we get audited every 5 years and we are right there with that. So, but then other than that, we've agreed to be the host this year for the IVFA District 18 parade. There's 35 fire departments in southern Indiana, everywhere from French Lick to basically Otwell down to the river. All those fire departments are in this district, and it's in celebration of the Great Chicago Fire, which happened back in 1871. So they always have things during the week to lead up, and there's activities at schools for all the children and things. And then October the 12th at 1:00, there'll be a parade here in Jasper. We've agreed to be the host, and we've not done that since 1994. So it's always like some communities asking for it because they have a celebration in their community. So this year we're going to have that. It'll start and end out at the Cultural Center, and Kyle Rupert's been a great host for us so far. There's a queen contest to go with it. So some young lady will be chosen as the queen for the District 18. So. All righty.
Danny, thanks for the update.
Yep, appreciate it.
It's awesome that we have that many experienced firefighters.
Yes.
Responders
Yep.
on board to support our community.
Yeah, and the important thing there is that the knowledge, the experience they get over the years, they can recognize and see things. The first time in my career at that house fire, we did the Mayday, which we seen things were deteriorating with that house to the point it's not safe. So we called a Mayday, which is universal sign, and it's 3 blasts of the air horn. And the guys inside that burning building heard that and they know to evacuate that building, that they're going the wrong direction. So at that point, we're saving property with that. So I did stop by there today and there's a contractor putting an estimate together for demolition.
Make sure you thank all your guys from the council. We appreciate all they do for the city.
All right, appreciate it.
Chief, thank you. And I want to reemphasize our volunteer fire department couldn't do the things it does without our employers' willingness to let them respond. Because these guys all have full-time jobs.
Correct.
And employers make it possible. To your point, they get a benefit from that training being on site as well.
Yeah.
But that, and then also the philanthropy here in the community where individuals are donating. We get things done. We purchase a lot of items for our departments through those donations. So public safety is one of the top areas. We'll learn a little bit about that later.
Yep, we do. Side note, I forgot the code enforcement part. I given you, it's a 2-sheet there. Everything listed on there is what we took care of last year. And some of those are actually in process yet, but every call that I personally went to myself and took care of is on there. And many of the ones that we're visiting this year are those same people again. So it's unfortunate that we have to do that. And we've had conversations and we're trying to figure out the best way to approach this. So in the future that they realize that this is property that has to be maintained by that as well. So a lot of weed letters in there. The thing that we did add last year was house numbers. So if we see a house that doesn't have house numbers that meet the ordinance, then that's on there as well. So there's a couple of those sprinkled in there as well, because that's very important that they have their house numbers visible, that they can be seen so we can find them. So, but if you have any questions on that, please reach out. And there's anything you need, so.
Thanks. Danny.
Just for the council's knowledge, these reports also come to the Board of Public Works every month. So it's not like they're secret, they're announced at a public meeting.
The actual read them off. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you much.
Thanks,
Have a good evening.
Okay, next up is our abatement compliance, and the first one on the docket is Jasper Laws LLC, Troy.
Well, my name's Troy Lacer. I'm the district manager for Pivotal. So this is involves with Jasper Lofts and Vine Street Lofts. This is a new one for me, so I'm not sure exactly what we're needing. You said, I saw a little thing here. Salaries, we do have two new managers that we just recently hired on. Betty is one for Vine Street, and then Melinda Simpson is for Jasper Lofts. Currently occupancy, Vine Street, we have one open unit, we're in the process of filling. At Jasper Lofts, we have 4 open units, and we have some applications that we're in the process of filling those right now, so. Rent wise, if we have a couple rent schedules, I'm happy to pass out, and you guys are more welcome to keep if you would like to see these and see what the income limits are and the rent rates for the apartments are. That's for both properties.
Just glancing through these, are they the same for both properties?
Yes, they're pretty standard, yeah. The income limits and stuff are set standard. There might be a little variation, but not much.
And then on, Vine Street, does that still have an age limit on it?
Yes, Vine Street is a senior property, so it's a 55 and up, and then Jasper Lofts is a multifamily, so anybody 18 or older.
Let's see, good.
Yes, so at Jasper or Vine Street, we're at 98% occupied, we only have 1 open unit. Jasper Lofts, we're at 94%, we have 4 open units. And we're in the process of filling both of those at both properties.
This is for compliance for 25, page 26 abatement, and in 25, 26. Jasper Lofts part of Jasper Lofts will be in year 8 and 9 of their abatement, in year 9 and 9 of their abatement. And then Vine Street will be in year 7 and 10 of their abatement.
Anything there? I would entertain a motion with regard to the compliance.
Seeing the notes, we'll go through here again with their continued value to the community and the high occupancy rates. Again, I then find define what the Jasper Lofts and the Vine Street laws and substantial compliance.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Kevin. Both Jasper Lofts and Vine Street Lofts being in compliance. Any further discussion? All in favor, by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Next is Jasper Engine Exchange.
Good evening, everybody. Jason Kelly, CFO Jasper Holdings and Jasper Engines. I'm assuming you probably have the CF1
Yes.
compliance statement of benefits. Everybody would have that. Honestly, I think the numbers really speak for themselves, but I do want to highlight just a couple things, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. I think when you look at when this project originally kicked off in 2014 and really we're through the real estate 10 years, I think now what we're looking at is the last 3 years of the personal property, but we've had 290 more employees, which is about a 29% increase from the baseline back in 2014. We've had 31.8 million in incremental salaries. It's an increase of 99%. Full retention of everybody who was there at the time, with a 61% increase in the wages for those people. 249 employees, new employees, I'm sorry, which was 149 more than originally projected. Incremental salaries of 9 million, which were it's 9 million more than was projected. We had 12 million incremental, and we've had average wage growth over the period of time of about 54% or roughly 5% per year. We continue to appreciate this body's support of the abatement. And again, happy to answer any questions that you guys have about what we're doing.
Jason, you may not know this answer because I don't know if you would, but You know the number of employees that are coming in to work in the facilities now that are outside of? like,
Yeah.
Eagles County?
No, unfortunately I don't, because I can tell you that the numbers that we have on here were 1302. And I believe that is, and I don't know honestly, because we had our folks who've been preparing these schedules. But if you think about Jasper as a whole, Jasper engines, we have about 2,600 across Jasper, Indiana, Leavenworth, and then our Willow Springs facility over in Missouri. So I would say this 1302 number would be the number coming. Is that what you're talking about in terms
Well, I
of
was just
Jasper?
wondering how many people were working there that live outside of the county and driving in. Maybe
Yeah.
Phil can get that.
He's retired. The place is falling apart since he left.
I bet it is.
Yeah, and Kevin, I'm happy to get that for you.
Okay.
I know we have that data. I didn't think to grab it.
How many current openings have you guys got out there by now yet? Just what's your need for employment as it stands today?
Yeah, so believe it or not, it's actually not bad. I would say across Jasper Engines, we have about 70 some openings right now, but that's across I want to say the 6 facilities that we have. Overall, I would say the quality of workforce is much improved. Turnover's pretty consistent with where we've been. We tend to have about 20% annual turnover. We tend to run in that 18 to 22%. We haven't had to increase wages as quickly as we historically have over the last 3 years. So average starting wage, we just bumped our wage from 18 and a quarter to $19 an hour, which is pretty significant over the last 4 or 5 years, but a much less increase than the bumps, the average, $1.50 we were, really seeing in 2021, 2021 and 2022. But overall, it's a better environment for hiring people right now than it was over the last couple of years.
ESOP is contributing to a lot of that.
Our ESOP is, we're gonna announce the new stock price on next Tuesday, the 29th. I'm sure
Don't
Phil
mess it
here
up
is
while we
big,
go.
that bated breath here. But honestly, just lots of good stuff. We acquired the old Stins building about 1.5 years ago, and we didn't have a need for the office portion of it, but Indiana Furniture was a great partnership for them. And they're occupying the office portion, and then roughly 50,000 square feet that we have primarily devoted to Jasper Engines overstock, and then all of our JIS, which is our US Postal Service distribution business that we moved from Leavenworth up into Jasper with that.
Pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
Yeah, I wish I could take credit. I mean, there's a lot of smart people over there, and honestly, I've learned a lot I've been there about 5 years now, and I want to say when I came, the stock price was about $360, and let's just say most people are gonna be fairly happy with where it's going, but it just continues to grow, and the organization is healthy as it's ever been. So again, thank you for all of your support in this project, and I'm sure we'll have more.
And
From a community standpoint, the buildings always look great. That's such a big thing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
guys, they're beautiful. They take it very well. They break.
Yeah, we can't keep Doug from getting his paintbrush out. He's always wanting to paint something. So again, I think we owe him a lot of credit for, his continued focus on appearance.
Would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that they are in compliance.
Motion
I'll
from
second.
Bill, second Chad. Any further discussion?
Thanks for your nice,
Yeah.
everything on here too, which helps make it a little bit make more sense.
More comments, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next is Biddle Sales. Lauren. Anything, Lauren?
Hi, I'm the financial, I'm Laura Malin, the financial controller for Ditto. We invested 2.8 million in the purchase of 4 pieces of machinery, Mazik sheet laser, tube laser, a Haas CNC machine, and a nitrogen gas generator, which were all purchased and installed between February of 2023 and 2024, February of 2024. The equipment gives Verstil an increase in productivity and capacity. We were able to increase our throughput with the same number of employees by approximately 10%. And then the nitrogen gas generator had environmental benefits that included reducing the greenhouse gas emissions, minimizing energy consumption, and eliminating the need for nitrogen transportation. Although we didn't add any new employees, we haven't reduced them either. Anybody who left a position in that department, they have been replaced or are in the process of being replaced. And then we also gave raises to our employees in November 2024 as well. All of our production employees.
You're in year, one or two,
The 25, pay 26 would be year 2 of 5.
okay, 2 or 5.
Yeah, I think we talked about this when they bought those tools, and again, keeping employee retention and not having to lose or keeping you guys competitive. So where this was, I saw an ad you had here not long ago about pair of free table sales.
Yes, we were very proud of that.
Pretty good ad.
Very proud of that, made in America, yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, yes.
so, seeing your numbers here, again, we're looking at originally on the 50 and the actual being 122, and watching salaries change from just short of 2 million to 6.5. It's great. We appreciate your continued investment in the community and your people in there. So I would make a motion to find bill sales and substantial compliance with the tax statement for 2025.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Paul, and a second from Vince. Any
Thank you.
further discussion? All in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next is German American Bank, Scott.
Good evening. My name is Scott Miller. I'm the Director of Facilities for German American Bank. And I'm here seeking approval for our substantial compliance for our CF1 Real Property Resolution 2017-14. And this is for the 2025 pay 2026 year. Our SB1 was based off of the number of employees and number of employees retained, and I think total salary dollars for those employees. Our original estimated when we started this was 96 employees with about 3.2 million in salaries. And we were also going to create four new positions, newly created positions in that estimate. Today, we have a current number of 115 employees. I'm sorry, this is actually for the operations center out on 12th Avenue, in case one of you do not know. So 115 employees with total salaries of about 7 million. And of those 115, we currently have 9 newly created positions with a total salaries of $738,000.
Looks like your numbers are excellent. They're outstanding.
Thank you.
Outstanding. I'll make a motion that German American Bank is in compliance.
Second. The motion from Kevin, the second from John. Any further discussion? All in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate all you're doing, folks. Next is Ron Family Properties. Jeff. Cool, Jeff.
Hi, I'm Neil Burkham, I'm Director of Finance for Meyer Distributing, representing Brown Family Partners, Properties, Transit Properties, and Meyer Distributing. So the first resolution is 2415 for Meyer Distributing. You can see that our salaries, we added more employees, our salaries are almost twice as much as what we started out with. Very strong. We're continuing to try to grow the company in within Jasper, within the 30th Street operations. Then transit is the rental property or the rent. They are the property owner of the 30th Street, so we've continued to access on the number of employees as well as salaries. Then our next one is 2012-8, 2012-11 for Meyer Distributing. We exceeded the number of employees and our salaries have also doubled in these locations. And then Brown Family Partnership or Properties is the real estate owner. And you can see the number of employees continue to grow as well as salaries. And
What year are you in on these abatements?
Brown Family Properties is near 10 of 10, and that is a real property abatement. And then I have Meyer Distributing. A portion of it will be in 7 of 10, 8 of 10, 9 of 10, and 10 of 10. And then transit, they will be in year 9 of 10 and 8 of 10.
Backside.
road backside, yeah, it's been an ongoing project.
I'm gonna go motion, three, Broad Family Properties, Meyer Distributing, and Transit Properties are all in substantial compliance.
Motion from Nancy,
I'll second that.
second from Phil. Any further discussion?
I guess it's actually four different resolution numbers.
Yeah.
Two on that.
Two of Meyer, Broad Family, and Transit Properties. Yeah.
You, good job.
Keep up your
Great
work.
to see you. Nice to meet you too.
I have a motion from Nancy and a second from Phil. All in favor, so we say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Neil.
And I would like to point out, it's not on the agenda, but Crimps, has an abatement, and Bill Kaiser is on his way over to, discuss the kinds of that.
Who is that for?
Crimp for a property.
Indian furniture.
Oh, yeah, furniture, yeah. I don't know if you want to go ahead, or go ahead with something else.
We'll pick it up later.
Okay.
And, we'll work on it. Okay, next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2025-4. It's an ordinance limiting fees for the activities of Jasper Department of Parks and Recreation. And could I have a motion to read the ordinance on the second and final reading in full or by title?
Motion, we read the second reading in by title only, please.
Well. Second, that's true by title. All in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The city attorney, please read ordinance number 2025-4.
Ordinance number 2025-4, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Jasper, Indiana, amending fees for activities of the Jasper Department of Parks and Recreation.
Could I have a motion to approve the ordinance in the second and final reading?
I'll make that motion.
Motion, Kevin.
I'll second.
Yeah. Further discussion.
All right, once no one can sign up. That's what I said, that's right. Live show there, is it already on the parks website? Do you know? So unless.
2026.
It'll be 2026.
Sorry.
Bill's gonna have to wait another year.
That's all I need to know.
Okay. Yeah, any other questions, comments? Got a motion from Kevin, second from Chad. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is ordinance number 2025-6. Ordinance fixing salaries and wages for elected officials and civil city employees for the year 2025.
Motion read by title only, please.
Motion from Paul, read by title only.
I'll second.
Second from Vince. All in favor, somebody saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? City attorney, please read ordinance number 2025-6 by title.
Ordinance number 2025-6, an ordinance of fixing salaries and wages for the elected officials and the civil city employees, city of Jasper, Indiana, for the year 2025.
We have a motion to approve the ordinance, the second and final reading.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion for Chad, and a second for Nancy. Further discussion. You think we, don't do this?
Ought to explain it.
I'm for the second page.
If there's no other discussion, not for the vote, all in favor, simply saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Billy,
Billy, you want to come on out?
Wow. That is real service.
You know how busy you are, you know?
That's great. No, that's awesome.
Happy with you.
I have no
We don't
paperwork.
either.
That's, well, there we go. Fair is fair, I suppose. Thank you for working in this morning, this evening, I guess. Time flies when you're having fun. I'm here to report on behalf of Cramp Corporation and Flaherty Collins. As you know, last year they embarked on a position to try to revamp 1224 Mill Street of the former Indiana Furniture Facility for housing. That project was contingent on a number of things. The most important of was low income tax credits. Flaherty Collins has a long history, and they presented to you. They have thousands of units, low income tax housing credit units in the state and other states. They made their pitch. They were denied their credits, and that essentially crushed the project and the ability to finance the project. In the interim, there's been some conversations. Wasn't quite certain whether Cramp Corporation was going to seek another partner to try to pursue housing in that facility, or if Flaherty Collins is going to come back around and work on the project or try to reestablish the project. In the meantime, the main person, Danny Miller, who was the lead project person, left Flaherty Collins, went to another piece of it. So Flaherty Collins has picked up the project recently, tried to look at what's possible. I've had two conversations now with Flaherty Collins and with Cramp Corporation. They are rediscussing the possibility of how to pursue this project. In particular, to pursue a separate application for low income tax credits. It's a very competitive field. Flaherty Collins certainly has a lot of experience in this area. They're very good at it. They've had, as you saw when they made the presentation, they've had a number of successful projects. They still like the project. The question is, how do you finance the project? And so Cramp has also said, we like working with Flaherty Collins. We would like to have an opportunity to work with you, Flaherty Collins. Bring us your financing package. Let's see how we can do this. So I had a conversation just today with Flaherty Collins again saying, hey, you guys, do you want to try to continue to pursue this, or you're not going to do it? And they said, we are committed to try to pursue and solve the financial problem and make the application. The question is, what sort of application? And depending on the amount of tax credits, depends how much additional funds, gap funding that has to do, because this is a $40 million plus project. So that leads us to our tax abatement that's with the city of Jasper. One of the things that we discussed, and that is that a lot of time, money, and effort went in order to put this tax abatement in place for this project. And what I suggested to them is that if Flaherty Collins and Cramp are going to get together again, we have essentially the same parties, the same project, assuming nothing is really changing. We're just deferring down to another day to start the project. Does that mean running through tax credit, getting the financing together this year to start the project? Or are you picking a new horse, Cramp? Are you having another partner? If you are, then this tax abatement goes away and we have to come back and apply. A lot of time, money, and effort was spent both by Cramps and by Flaherty Collins and by the city investing and assisting and reviewing and piece of that. I hate to see that all go to waste if we're actually going to get Flaherty Collins back to the table
to pursue, what is probably the best possible reuse of that building is for a workforce development or workforce housing in that area for that building. So I'm here to tell you that we have not filed the CF1 because I wasn't sure I had authority or if there was going to be a project. It looks like both parties do want to continue to pursue the opportunity to that. They haven't exactly 100% shaken hands on that yet, but they are, and they have been discussing and negotiating how that could happen. What I would,
Do we just table this then?
Well, we have to find them in substantial compliance prior to May 1. And that form will have to be to the auditor or to the assessor by then. So
I'm just wondering if we should amend the SB1 and put a new proposed start project date.
yes, so yeah, there has to be, we have to file with you in order to do that, but we can't amend the piece of that.
Right.
It only made sense to do this if it's Flaherty and Collins and Cremp Corporation, again, working. If Cremp Corporation owns the building, Flaherty and Collins would be the developer. So to your point, Renee, yeah, and Kirsten, we have to file, and I told Kirsten, I said, I think I have authority to file something at some point, but the question is to be in compliance with a project that is still, appears to me at this point, Nancy, substantially the same. It's from a development standpoint, I don't think there's anything new coming to the table, but from a financing package, that's the question in order to make sure this.
Or do we give them an extension?
Bill, is there a possibility that they will start something this year?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question either, yeah. So, I mean, these are, yeah, there's still preliminary conversations about what this looks like, how this looks. That's the real issue, and I don't have those answers, other than that I feel comfortable to say that Flaherty and Collins and Cremp are so likely to pursue the same or similar project for housing and the possibility of low-income tax credits to finance, at least in part, this project.
Renee, legally, what does the tax abatement laws allow us to do with this?
Well, you have a lot of discretion in finding them in compliance or not. I would suggest that, do you feel like there's a date? I mean,
Well,
we can't just let it drag.
no.
So-
Here's the other thing about tax abatement, Nancy, and that is that this tax abatement doesn't actually become effective until we put the project in, build it, put it in service. So there's actually taxable improvements. So the fact of the matter is that I could have come here today, let's say this project was underway and construction was going on, and say, hey, things are happening, that just like we sit with Satisfy. So what I am saying is that, no, the project's not here, but the project has new life, instead of saying we're not gonna have a project. And I think the idea was that the whole point of tax abatement in any instance was in order to encourage and foster this development and this investment in the reuse of this building, which is sitting there vacant. And I think that it would send a strong message to say, yes, we're interested in understanding that, hey, look, you're in compliance in the sense you're still pursuing the same project, and you'll keep making regular updates to inform the city and its administration and this council about the progression of that project. And whether you give us a 6-month extension or some point, because I think at that point, we're gonna know, more closely that says, hey, we've got the tax credits and we have a project, or we don't.
To refresh our memories, how did you score on that the last time?
Did not score very, you mean on the
The
tax
tax
credit?
abatement, no, not the tax credits, the tax
95,
abatement.
I believe. 10 years.
For the tax
Did you
rate, we
score
scored
for
high.
10 years? or-
Yes, we did, yeah. We scored high because of the number of facilities and,
The
and-
abatement will not begin until.
I understand.
yeah.
Just what are we
I would
doing?
like to see you amend the SB1. And then, and file the CF1.
Yes, all reasonable things, yeah.
I think it's reasonable for the council to provide you with a date, whether that's December 31st, 2025, whatever that date is by which they have to
Right.
have made a decision.
Right. I don't, or we come back with some really good rationale if we haven't, right? But I think that the fact is that, there was a lot of money and effort, and Flaherty Collins is somebody who could and would be able to execute on the development of the plan. The question is not their ability to do it. The question is the funding. And I think so. And what I heard from Flaherty Collins is that they like the project. It's not a lack of interest of hey, we don't want to do the project. The fact is they didn't get the tax credits, which is a major component of the financing.
And to that point, the abatement is also a component of the finance.
It is, yes, the abatement was an important part of when you stacked all the dollars through what's gonna happen, that abatement came down. It was significant, right? I mean,
Well,
I'm just gonna say, did they reapply for the new tax credits? Is that?
that's what they're working on right now, that some point in the near, that they will. That's the question they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to debate is what type of tax credits, because there are some. I won't say easier, but there are some less competitive tax credits, but they don't provide as much money. That means if you do apply that, it's more likely that you'll get those credits, not 100%, but you also have to come up with additional money to fill the gap.
Bill, what's the timeline? When was the application due last year? Was that like July?
Well, they actually went for 2 different tax credits. So they went for 2 different programs. So yeah, there was a July filing and a September filing. Yeah, so they applied for 2 different pieces to try to do that. But they did not get either. They were not successful in either application.
because there's no written formal agreement, this doesn't have check credits from exploring with another developer. The developer, right?
No, and just to be clear, Paul, there's been other conversations going. So
I just don't wanna, I don't wanna.
well, I'll tell you what no.
Oh, this is
Well,
something-
well, I think
It's not the department.
no, right, because if it isn't, then we're gonna have to come back and reapply. If somebody else pursues or wants to pursue the opportunity, that will take a different arrangement, a different piece of that to come in and do the piece of that. So
The tax abatement is for kind,
yes,
so.
and our application said Prep in connection with Flaherty and Collins as the developer. And so, I mean, we'd have to amend again. So Paul, maybe the other question is, if it turned out we get to September and we don't get the tax credits, but in the meantime, somebody else swoops in and says we're gonna be the developer, then we would come back and we do our SB1 again and amend and say, okay, now the developer is this. And probably, I think in fairness, if the project should change substantially in the number of units or things happen, we'd have to come back and present to make certain that you're clear about how the project's changed. To get approved.
At this point in time, I would ask for you to approve substantial compliance based on an amended SB1 and a filed
CF.
CF1.
Yep.
Which will have to be submitted by May 1st.
And we don't have that, though, so we.
Well, he's telling.
They have.
I verbally reported to you, Kevin, what we're gonna say, and that is that
Okay.
what I just said. Yeah, that's right.
Sign it up.
Yeah, no, well,
And then
maybe.
once we get that, we will provide you all with copies of it to review.
And it can be your approval can be subject to this filing and legal review that it does substantially comply with the things that I verbally represented. Yeah.
So we would not have to come back for another separate meeting for that. Okay.
And it does debate any tax that we currently collect at this point.
Right.
On said front.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah,
No improvement, yeah, no improvement.
The abatement was, yeah, so Paul, part of the application was we had a baseline. Yeah, so this would only be a abatement on any improvements above the baseline.
So we would need to make a motion, would like to make a motion then to find them in substantial compliance with the potential project pending they refile the SB1 and CFA1 with a date of December 31st of this year. They have to file by May 1st. We will extend this through December 31 of this year. Okay.
That's fair. No, I think that's fair, because I think that, but we're gonna know before then, but I think that, I mean, we need housing. This is a great potential housing. We've got a vacant building. So I think the idea is that, this is the best thing we can do. And I know that the city's provided others letters of support, for grants and applications that, Flaherty and Collins and Cramp are pursuing. But it is a solid building, Cramp's still spending money to maintain the building interim while it's, subject to, which is not inexpensive for a 200,000 plus square foot building, but it is a facility that needs to be revitalized or reused and repurposed in some way. And I think they're paying all the current property taxes, and the utilities and things that are happening, security and all the like. So I think.
So I have a motion for Paul and a second, Kevin.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Well, thank you for doing this now before your time ran.
Okay, all in favor?
That's Kirsten.
Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Kirsten was making sure that.
Chasing you down.
He was,
the
yeah,
street.
yeah, and I was, the difficulty was that I had asked, but I think that, just to be clear, the conversation was going, but they hadn't, like I said, well, it's really important that you tell me you have a deal, you're not gonna have a deal, because we have to come back and report for this piece, or you're gonna lose the opportunity. And again, after spending a lot of money, it just doesn't make sense to come back, waste the city's time and, the party's time and redoing something that, at least at this point, looks like it may be very similar to the project that was previously presented to the city
I
council.
appreciate council's discussion on this, and I think landed in a pretty good place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you, Mayor.
Bill, for-
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your accommodation. All right, okay.
Thanks, Kirsten, for keeping up on that.
Okay, next is ordinance number 2025-8. Which is an ordinance establishing designated outdoor refreshment area for Florida. Could I have a motion to read the ordinance in the first reading in full by title only?
I'll make a motion.
We pulled seven. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion to read by title only.
I have a motion to read this, read by title only.
I'll second.
Second, Chad. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? City Attorney, please read ordinance number 2025-8.
Ordinance number 2025-8, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Jasper, Indiana, establishing a designated outdoor refreshment area, amending the downtown Jasper social district.
Could I have a motion to approve the ordinance in the first reading?
I'll make that motion.
Motion, Kevin,
I'll second.
second, Vince. Further discussion?
Josh, want to give us a?
Yeah, we need some discussion on this.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, council. So as you know, there are several pieces here, so if we could, just to keep conversation clear and concise, let's just work through it one by one. I'll address them, and as we have questions or discussion, let's just try to center it around the item we're talking about, not get ahead of ourselves, okay? Sure. So the first item I would ask or would be recommended within the ordinance is to remove Platinum Timber. Platinum Timber failed or ceased operations sometime last year. So pretty straightforward, cut and dry. They're no longer a vendor in our DORA. So we need to remove them from the ordinance. Any questions about that?
So Josh, we're removing the business of Platinum Timber, but we're not necessarily removing the location of Platinum Timber or the boundary of it.
That's correct. Every vendor in the DORA is a vendor who has a liquor license with the ATC. It is not bound by the building per se. It's the entity that owns the liquor license. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
So suppose a new vendor begins operations in that location. Is there something that we can do in this, while we're amending this, to automatically include them?
No.
No.
Has to be approved.
They have to have that liquor license.
With
Yeah,
this process.
There's an application they have to fill out. They have to be approved by this entity first. Then we send that application off to ATC for their final approval. So again, based on the license that they hold.
So on the designated retailer permittees on 3.40.050. That is where the vendor has to be specifically listed in this ordinance to be able to be part of the board.
That's correct.
I'm good with that.
Okay, any other questions? Rice and Spice. Rice and Spice is a new vendor. They have filed an application with me with the appropriate DORA application that the state put out. Pending your approval, it would get signed and sent off to the ATC. They are operating within the current DORA district. I don't know what their hours are, but it would be, whatever our DORA hours end up being is what they would end up doing. But they do have a current liquor license. So my recommendation would be that we add them into the DORA in that ordinance. And we do know of at least one, if not two potential more businesses that are getting their liquor license here in the next 12 months or so. We'll again try to keep this on an annual thing. We won't do it every other time that someone adds or drops. But there will be other additions that'll come, you know, or requests that'll come here in the future. So any requests?
Adding rice and spice into all the improvements.
And they're already in the district anyway.
Okay. Next item is, we did, and I want to clarify some things. Heard discussions talked about that this is a part of Jasper program or project. Part of Jasper was a supportive entity that helped kick off the DORA. But this is the city of Jasper economic tool. This is a project and a district that is managed by the city of Jasper. So, you know, in just conversations that we continue to have, again, just remember, this is an economic tool. This isn't necessarily something that, it's not a Heart of Jasper project. That being said, we've had some conversations, both the Heart of Jasper and my department, with the current vendors of the DORA. And multiple times, at least 2 different times, we've spoke to them and we conducted a survey. Most of them or all of them, I would say, that replied. We had 5 replies, and then I reached out and spoke with 6 or 7 of the entities myself. They've all counted it as a success, and success is however they chose to define it. We didn't define what success was. You know, we started, I believe, in the middle of the middle of March or 1st of April. And then, of course, there's an adoption period, right? Nobody knows about what's going on or how we are going about this. But fact of the matter is, we've sold multiple cases of cups, and the case is 500 cups. So there have been, you know, some vendors that are using it more than others. Some vendors that are working or talking about how they're going to market that and build up to create more incentive for people to use that. All that's to say, a reoccurring theme in that survey and those conversations was that other vendors believe that snaps should be included in that particular district, because they believe that snaps is part of the downtown scene, air quotes. And that people frequently walk from events here in the downtown area to snaps and vice versa. So the next item that I would request, and I know at one point snaps had reached out and told us that they were interested. Earlier in the year, they filed a formal request with me to be considered for that addition. So then I would ask, I would ask our consideration and discussion that we add snaps into that, and that would require us to amend the boundary districts 2 blocks north on Main Street. And Ms. Mitchell's here. Is there anything you'd like to say? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Josh, before she says something, where exactly in this ordinance does it add snaps?
Sure. So the vendor item that you told me on 3.40.
Well, I don't mean there.
No, I understand, but they're added in there.
Yeah.
And then in the map itself has been amended 2 blocks farther north. Previously, it ended at 9th Street. This would have it going to the south edge of 11th
I
Street.
get it on the map too, but where in the boundaries and map reading part does it add that? 3.40.02.
Sorry, Nancy, I don't understand the question.
We changed what?
Are you 1115 Main?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Are you talking 3.4020?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we amended that whole section to include the new.
I kind of see that.
Proposal.
It's 1115 Main.
Yeah.
I'm in favor.
Take it.
How many additional houses are gonna be in the Dora homes?
It would be all of Library Square. So I think that's 12 units, I'm guessing here. And then it would be primarily. Without being exact, I would guess about 13.
Is it all of Library Square, even over in
Mhm.
Jackson?
Yeah, all we did was extended
Square
to,
off?
that's exactly right.
It's Library Square plus 13?
Correct. 13 is 13 actual single family homes, which would be those that are on Main Street and then on the west side of Jackson as it came down Jackson Street. Because again, that's what 9th Street did. We just literally extended 2 blocks north.
Josh, I don't know the answer. Is there a reason that we went over to Jackson? That I don't see any participants in the blocks from 7th up to 12th that are between Maine and Jackson.
We just go up the west side of Maine.
On the west side.
Good. Go up the west side of Maine. Instead of all the way over to Jackson, what you're saying.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
The west side of Maine or the east side of Maine?
So,
East side of Maine.
I just want to be clear.
Well, they are on the
They're on the
west
west
side.
maybe
We're on the west side.
And that would exclude Library Square then.
I understand, but being specific to the conversation, in a lot of these areas, on the borders, we are very specific that we are only on one side of the street. So I wanted to make sure that you were talking all of Maine, both the east and the west sidewalks, and not just the west sidewalk as you go up from the boundary.
Well, that could change. I mean, it would be on the east, or I'm sorry, on the west side of Maine, just from 7th to 12th, but the rest of Maine would be on both sides because the boundary is not Maine in the rest of the district. Does that make sense?
I don't know where the boundary was, but this is showing the west boundary over on 231.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
And that's how that was.
That's how it was.
And while technically, yes, Renee, we could, we still have to sign and define, and it becomes a little more convoluted when we're trying to define one side of the sidewalk and not the other.
Does that mean if you exclude one side of the street, that means the person can walk down that side of the street, which I have
That's correct.
essentially?
I think you should include. Just make it easy. We're not trying to be difficult, because I wouldn't think, so.
That's correct.
Let's make.
So on Jackson, then instead of being on the west side, it would move that border over to the east side in front of all those houses. Is that what you're saying?
No,
It would just encompass Main Street from 9th to 12th.
And take away
Yeah.
East
Jackson.
sidewalk,
yeah.
get rid of Jackson, get
Why
rid
don't
of the.
we,
west side.
I mean, this is
The
the
first
first reading,
readings on Jackson.
Yeah.
so we can draft a change in the map.
Yeah.
For the second reading.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I guess it's those descriptions that become kind of difficult.
I'm okay either way. I put in that, that's not, so I think if, then it comes to.
That's the intent.
But originally, the intent was to not include so many residential
Yeah.
houses. And so by moving that over to Jackson, that's all residential.
So we'll modify that. to
Move
go
back over to
there.
Maine.
Technically an occupant at Library Square, if they are living inside of the Dora, cannot come outside and sit on their
Correct.
front porch.
With their own
No,
beer.
I know we had lots of discussion about that, but I don't think residents, I don't think that's the intent or that would even be enforced, or I don't even think that's how the law would particularly read. If you're in your residence or you're in your domicile, or, you know, be it on the front porch or not, I don't think that, I mean, I would defer to the attorney here, but
There's no
I don't-
ATC law against you sitting on your porch drinking a beer.
I don't think there was any intention when they wrote the law, that that's the way it's gonna be, but that is the way it reads.
It is.
yeah.
Right.
And how's our enforcement been?
Well, it doesn't matter if it's enforced or not. It is what the law is.
It matters if it's enforced, in my opinion. I've not heard of anybody getting in trouble for carrying a beer outside of their property in the square.
I'm not saying it's being enforced, but that's a problem. You can't have a law and not enforce it or have the capability of enforcing it.
But I think making the change, going on the street. Makes it appropriate then.
And maybe just the sidewalk on the west side where you are and not the library square. Is that kind of what you're suggesting, Jack?
Yeah, I'm fine with, and I'm about 50-50 either way, but including staffs, I'm in favor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you do it?
West side of the site. I love redrawing this map. I can tell you that, and all these boundary descriptions. So that's why I just want to be very specific on what your intention is.
Somebody's on the porch.
But if somebody comes out of Snaps and wants to walk downtown, they may cross the street and walk downtown the east side.
And if they're not on the sidewalk, they're not in the door.
Josh.
Sidewalk,
Yes, ma'am.
east side of the street. Sidewalk, on the public side of the street.
The west side of the street.
East side.
East side.
Well,
Library
you're
Square.
not in the door.
they're not at the door. So you don't have to worry about anybody walking out their front porch and sitting and drinking a beer, it's not at the door. It's just like the public ground, not the property.
Renee grew kind of a reindeer. Just maybe pass around there about what she thinks.
Okay.
It just shows, it's the west side. Yeah,
And
okay.
what it changed to.
I think they're good for that. So,
Am I good?
yeah,
Other thing,
Do I need to stay?
no,
no, you're good.
you did a great
The
job.
rezoning?
Let's get rid of that, so wouldn't be good him to talk to.
Oh, yeah, you can call me. Friday.
Sorry, I thought I was here before.
Thanks, Karen.
What do I know? Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
I'll be in my house.
Next week.
That's you taking one step at a time.
Yeah, no, just before I move on, there was a little side discussion. Vince, any questions with where we should be on the sidewalk or what part of it? Okay, perfect. Next item I want to talk about is, again, going back to having conversations with the vendors, having conversations regarding the survey. We heard this initially, after the first couple of months from the Astra specifically. But then in speaking with Pub and Grub a few times, and Oink at least once, they had requested or stated that the hours of the Dora were a little bit confusing for staff, and didn't necessarily benefit, for example, the Astra. The confusion from the staff being restaurants change their hours all the time. Our current Dora starts at noon. Oink at one point was opening at 11. Pub and Grub was either 11 or now I think they're both at 10:30. So there's a training element to their staff that, hey, you can sell beer, but you can't sell Dora cups for the first 90 minutes of your shift. And so they're just always chasing the tail of trying to keep their staff informed on when they can and can't. And so it becomes a little prohibitive in that, they're not always sure when the Dora is in effect. So the ATC allows those permitted vendors by the license that they have right now to sell beer, and it is in your memorandum from some time. Is it 6 a.m. to?
3 a.m.
Yeah, from Monday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. Now, we're not talking about anything like that, but what I would suggest is, let me step back. The Astra, a lot of their stuff gets out after 9 o'clock. And our Dora ends at 9 o'clock. So we've got this beautiful downtown. We've got these amenities that are designed for people to hang out. And they are a permitted vendor. They can't sell beverages and have people leave their venue to hang out and socialize in the downtown after 9 o'clock. So by the time any of their shows are done, they're done selling. So we've stunted their ability to sell and make money. And we've also stunted our ability to have people socialize and hang out more in our downtown area. So those two being the case, I would recommend, or we would recommend, that we expand the hours of the Dora. Truthfully, we could do 24/7. The recommendation before you, or that I would recommend, is at least 7 to midnight. But I say we could do 24/7 because the hours are dictated by the vendors. So our Dora is only in effect when we have a vendor that is open and able to sell. So if our earliest vendors currently are 10:30 in the morning, then naturally, even though our Dora hours would be open before then, that would be the first and only time that a beverage could be sold in the morning, would be 10:30 when the first vendor opens. Now, an asterisk to that would be, we had at least one event, and I believe it was the Heartland, that came before the Board of Public Works and requested for a modification of that because they had a vendor. I don't remember who it was. It may have been Snaps, it may have been Oink, it may have been Headquarters. But they had a permitted vendor come up and sell alcohol after their event for the Heartland. This would allow those things to happen a lot easier and more naturally if we were a little bit more lax on our hours. So that was a whole lot for.
I would suggest we change it to 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. And that seems to encompass enough opening hours. And truthfully, it's pretty hard pressed to find any restaurant open downtown or wherever past 9 o'clock of any evening, but I would think
Well, I think
maybe on
Snaps
weekends.
might change that.
And I disagree. A year ago, when we did this, I brought up to the point that Monday through Thursday, it's fine. Friday, Saturday, we got events at the Ashland. Sometimes they don't let out till 11 p.m. We spent millions of dollars downtown here improving the four corners, putting hangout swings, fire pits, all that stuff. To not allow them to have somebody leave, or if they want to have an event or have a meet and greet outside with a show vendor after the fact, to say, you're shutting off beer sales at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, when the event doesn't lend to 11, and somebody walks out with half a beer while they're into their violation, doesn't make any sense to me at all. We're not gonna grow that area, we're not gonna grow the nightlife if we don't allow the nightlife to somewhat participate.
Well, then let's say midnight. I mean, I'm good 10 a.m. till midnight.
Yeah, I don't know if we have ragers going on downtown Jasper anymore. I
Anymore.
do, but there are times there's raging events that are happening that spill out on the streets after other. But we're
Good
building the
luck
actual.
finding those.
We haven't won a basketball section for a while. That's right. That's what I thought. But the actual, it used to happen, didn't it?
Let's just go with the 10 to 12, Nancy's suggestion, because I think that covers the Astor.
So this 10 o'clock catch, if we have the Heartland, Tap American,
I would say they still should ask for special permission.
Turkey, that's fine.
And actually, the Heartland moves every year, so it may not be back in Jasper for 3 or 4
They
years.
canceled the one.
For this year's cancel.
It's canceled.
So there you go. So.
They canceled.
So we're looking at 10 a.m. to midnight. Okay.
Okay.
Is that right?
I'm not on the board.
10 a.m. to midnight?
Are other establishments, Josh, refresh my memory, are other establishments currently selling as early as what you were asking for here,
7 a.m.
7 a.m.?
I mean, headquarters is probably the only one I know that's open at that time.
But they're probably not selling it in the Dora Cup at 7 a.m.
Not now, because that'd be illegal. Yeah, and well, and they couldn't sell it in an open company, no. But I do want to make that distinction, you know, talking about Snaps and headquarters, both of them have their carryout license. And they're allowed to sell closed beverage alcohol right now to in glass containers. And they're able to walk out with those, and what they do with that after that.
That's kind of weird.
I don't disagree, but I'm just saying they're able to still sell alcohol, and their patrons can walk right out the door with it by law.
Again, since we're kind of still in the pilot program of this, and we approved this for a year, to be reviewed maybe year after year for a couple of years. I'm good to include it as 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. or midnight, I mean, sorry.
I think that's okay.
Anybody okay?
That's fair.
Okay.
Do you have any other adjustments?
Last one, and then one informational. The next recommendation would be, we created a special solo cup with our logo, with our rules on it. We had a vendor in the downtown who provided or helped us find a vendor to sell those. It is an added cost to the vendors to sell Dora cups for that printing. Our neighbor to the south, Huntingburg, their Dora allows for them to use stickers, which would be a lower price of entry. So our recommendation would be to allow either or. We do have a supply of cups. We'd like to run those out. We'd like to give the vendors the option. It's a nice looking cup, and if they want to continue to buy from that vendor those cups, they can do so. Or if they just like to slap a sticker on any plastic container that meets the guidelines, they would be allowed to do
So
that.
Josh, are you suggesting that we find a vendor, but they buy direct now from that vendor instead of through the city?
They've always bought, the city has never been a part of that transaction. Maureen connected them with the vendor, and they buy direct from the vendor.
But I thought we had cases here that they were buying from us or something.
I think the Heart of Jasper initially purchased the first couple cases to get it started. They purchased from the Heart of Jasper that initial 1,000 or whatever it could be, but now they buy direct by the case from either Maureen or the vendor. I don't know.
Stickers fine.
Will the same vendor supply the sticker?
We haven't even gone down that road. I mean, you can buy them online for pennies. So, yeah.
We're good.
Is there only one approved vendor currently? I mean, could anybody use that logo and create their own cup? It's a cup.
You're correct. They wouldn't have the digital file. I mean, I guess they could create something that would look close, but
We do have a logo. in our
yeah,
ordinance, So.
Or do we own the logo? Is it copyrighted?
no.
It's not.
And if someone wanted to be a cheaper vendor, I don't think we or the vendors would care if there was a cheaper vendor that came to light.
Ken wants to get.
Apparently, yeah.
All right, so
Sorry, Mayor. Last item would be, and it's just informational only, this would go before the Board of Public Works. As you know, we have to sign the boundaries and being this was a pilot project or for a year, we did sidewalk clings. We will ask the Board of Public Works to allow us to move forward with metal signage. Now that we're looking at having this as a permanent project. So there'll be an overlap of time, which sidewalk clings will still prevail as we move some of the areas to metal signage.
what about those problems?
Los Bravos is not, yes, we've had that request from them. They're not as physically, they're not located within the proximity of the downtown, really. We made an effort specifically to exclude the Riverwalk as a DORA. And really the only way to get to Los Bravos from downtown utilizes the Riverwalk or Memorial Bridge. Is there even a sidewalk on Memorial Bridge? I don't know. Yeah.
So, on the side, most of the last round.
Yeah, so at this time, it would be my recommendation that we don't go down that path. We can have multiple DORAs. We can have up to 7 in the city, and I'm not recommending we have a second DORA at this time either. I just don't think it's necessarily the time to bring Los Bravos on.
There, I'm just- Go back to that sign again, you were talking.
Sure.
Would make a recommendation that we utilize existing sign posts. In the downtown.
I'm cheap and frugal, that would be my hope.
We don't want to be a hope, we want to make it as a.
Yeah,
as a-
no.
as a recommendation.
We've, I started having conversations with the street department on what that may look like, so.
Saturday, I moved part of the new walking path this week across from my parents' house in Rockwood Avenue, since nobody had walked it yet this year. And it was terribly tall and ugly looking in there, and we had a assortment of signage. Yes, 3 foot wide, 4 foot wide strip of grass. Down through there.
Yeah, and we don't want to take the beauty of the downtown
agreed.
sign.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess it could be a combination of the ring stickers and the sign somehow.
That's exactly right.
Anything else?
No, sir.
It's at this point, we have a motion from Kevin and a second from Vince, and we've got some changes, modifications to make for next time, so we go into the second reading. Do I need to pass this on the first reading? All right,
Also with those changes.
with the changes that were noted. Call for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Next time.
And I can't remember when that was sent, if that map was sent in color, but when it ever, either I printed it or it was provided, it was black and white, so.
We do that in color. I
Okay.
can send it to you.
Yeah, I mean, you passed yours around. so-
I always make the copies of black and
I
white,
did.
and then sometimes I realize later that the map doesn't really show up that well.
Just
in
on
black
that.
and white.
Next item on the agenda is resolution number 2025-2, resolution authorizing funds transfer, community crossing funds. Could I have a motion to have a resolution read in full or by title only?
I'll make a motion to read by title only.
Nancy? I'll second. Second, Vince. City Attorney, please read resolution 2025-2 by title only.
All right, resolution number 2025-2. A resolution of the common council of the city of Jasper, Indiana, authorizing funds transfer, community crossing fund.
Do I have a motion to pass and adopt resolution 2025-2? So moved. I have a motion for Paul. Second for Vince. Further discussion. You want to cover this?
Yes, I'm requesting, approval of this resolution to move, funds that we have designated for the community crossing project, from MVH, Economic Development Income Tax Fund, Local Road and Street Fund, General Fund, Streets and Alleys, Cuba Cap Development and Stormwater to the Community Crossings, fund. This is something that State Board of Accounts has requested that we do, yes. It's $1.174 million. Yes,
And these are all planned.
yes, they were all budgeted accordingly.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Next item on the agenda is a gas contractor license application.
I'll make a motion to approve Alex Renner, 92%. That's very good. Yes.
Motion to approve from Kevin. Second from Paul. Any further discussion? All in favor, simply saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is an adjustment request. Take this.
Yes. When we submitted our financial report, when it was due, our bank reconciliation was off by a minimal amount. But we continued to work very hard to figure out why it was off and where the issues had occurred. And it turned out there was a couple of different issues which made it more difficult to find. There's for some reason a $20.36 that is carried from December 2023 through 2024. And then sometime in June, one of our credit card processors changed the way that they reported their fees, and so they were reporting in June fees for May and then also June. So when we were reporting our fees, we were doubly reporting them. And when we caught that, we made the correction. However, it gets a little confusing with the pluses and minuses, but the correction was made in the wrong direction. And then additionally, someone in my office was out one day and someone redeemed a gift card for the train, and the backup had never done that before and receipted it incorrectly. So we were off on the bank recon $656.06 in Golf Now fees, and the train was receipted $560 over. So that put our cash higher than what the bank had. So I'm making a request that you allow me to make those transfers or make those corrections, even though the financial report has already been submitted. So we would open it back up and correct those. The State Board of Accounts is aware of it and has made that recommendation as well. And then also that we write off that $20.36 that has carried continuously through December. We can't find that. We don't know what that is. And then we can start laying at zero at the beginning of 25. Staff will all be excited. It's been a lot of hours looking for that money, I will tell you that.
I'll make the motion to request for the requested correction.
I'll second.
They have a motion from John and the second from Chad. Any further discussion?
Thanks for being so diligent in your record keeping.
And I will, I confirm they were working through the weekends. And you name it, on long hours, try to find $20.36, so. All right, I have motions. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
And next is an exception to the city policy 314, educational training assistants.
We've been waiting.
You have a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes. Good evening, Tom Woolman, Jasper Park Department.
Janessa Wagner.
We're here this evening to discuss the training portion of this. We have for many years provided CPR, AED training, basic first aid training for part-time employees. It is not in our policy to do that. However, we do have some individuals that are away from full-time employees that have this training, that we feel necessary to have this training. And we feel it is our responsibility to provide it. For instance, Dave at the mill, he is not around full-time employees who have this training, so he needs to have it. We have Camp for Care or Camp Care and Camp for Kids, both. Those supervisors, we feel it's important that they have this training as well. It's our responsibility. So that's just one of many circumstances.
And I think in the past, the claim had always been submitted to our department, with all of the employees, and we never were made aware. And then we received a couple of claims for part-time employees and then referred to the handbook, and the handbook says that we will pay for training for regular full-time employees. So
Are they changing the handbook then?
there's been some discussion about changing that and other changes, but we want to get this paid for before the rest of those changes.
Is it optional that you do it, or is it required?
It's something that we felt that it was our responsibility to have these employees do it. So
I mean, it's required from the safety standpoint. If there is an AED machine at a building, there's a requirement that they have the AED training.
without,
Sometimes they're the only.
because
Right, so our preschool camp, our camp for kids is housed at Rookser Clubhouse in the summer months where there is an AED. And also it's not housed at the Hobbick Center like it used to be. Where there's full-time employees. It's also no longer housed in the basement of the pool. We're just upstairs. We're a bunch of lifeguards. It is its own facility now. And it does have an AED, so we felt it was necessary for the and responsible for the supervisor to be certified along with our camp care, which is our special needs camp that is housed at the Hobbick Center, but it is 90% field trip based. Whether it is at the pool, the Bombers game, the bowling alley, Broken T, etc. So again, felt it was necessary and responsible without a full-time employee being there, that our supervisor gets certified. So we would like to ask for permission to amend that and move forward.
Anybody turn down training.
oh, no.
No, these two girls specifically that we're referencing, we have other employees too, like he said, Dave at the mill or anything, but these two girls actually requested it, more specifically too, for like the child's mass for preschool camp, because their age is 4 to 6. And they're like, what do we do? You know, they would hate to tell a parent, God forbid, I couldn't do anything. I had to wait, you know, for first responders, and they're great. We all know that, but these girls just felt that they would feel more comfortable being in the role that they're in if they had this training. We couldn't have agreed anymore.
So the reason they're here is because you all, back when we amended the handbook the last time, the ordinance that repealed it from the book of ordinances, then we went on to have the council pass the new handbook via resolution. So now the handbook stands out there as a policy, but the council adopted it as a policy. So we felt that it was appropriate for the council to be the board that determines whether there could be an exception to it or
And
not.
it's-
So
The council has the sole power to amend, extend, or change or supplement our expectations.
I'll make a motion to amend our handbook to include part-time employees. From
I don't want, at this point, I want you to make a motion to approve
These
these
two.
people,
These specific.
because
We'll
we will change
we'll
the
be coming back for the rest of it.
Yeah.
No problem.
It was the dollar amount ever.
No. I think it was about $65 per person. And I know that the park department had been doing this, so they had planned for it and had budgeted in their training.
Just
Um,
for any.
yeah.
So, just all $13.36. So, Kevin, you made a motion. Yeah. To approve the.
And Tom, will you provide me with a list of those employees? Thank you.
Yes.
So then what will come back to us, I think I read somewhere in May, it'll be ordinance 2025-7. I don't know why I wrote that down, but I read that somewhere. We'll eventually pass the employee handbook or something that will have this in it.
Kale is working on
There's
putting
several,
together
there's
a
several
list of
changes. in
things-
there.
changes.
Kevin made a motion, I'll second. Okay, a second from Paul. Any further discussion? All in favor, by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, guys.
You missed it up for the next one.
Next. Next item is the,
Thanks, Kirsten.
acceptance of donations.
I have donations for the art department and the park department for the month of March. Total unrestricted donations for the art department, $4,471, and then restricted donations totaling $1,448.10. And those restrictions have been approved at the park board. And then
Take the arts.
I'm sorry, at the art board, and then for the park department, they received a total of $85,606.52 in donations, and those were all restricted use donations. And at the park board, they approved those restrictions. So for example, the $64,000 has to be used at the parklands. There was $1,000 donation that has to be used on an Eagle Scout project and so on and so forth. But the park department approved those restrictions. So I'm just asking that you accept all of those
Motion to accept the donations as presented.
I'll second. There's a motion for Paul, second Vince. Any further discussion? As I noted earlier about philanthropy in the area, and all that stuff, to help us fund things. That's how we get things done. So we really appreciate that. No further discussion, then all in favor, so they're saying aye. Any opposed? And at this point, that was the last item.
Mayor, I had a couple things I wanted to bring up, and we talked about this previously, e-bikes and helmets. And just e-bikes in general, or scooters, or whatever they are. Just didn't know where that discussion ever headed with requiring a certain age and under to wear helmets, especially with the e-bikes and the scooters, because you know, it's that time of the year again, and they're kind of all over the place.
I had conversations with the chief and a couple of the detectives and stuff like that, and basically, the Indiana law basically requires, there's, bear with me, I want to, expected to give this for e-bike, but no, it's okay. There's multiple levels of e-bikes, and there is one of them that's considered unclassified that is getting to be sold a lot in the area, and basically unclassified means that it can go 40 some miles per hour. It's basically an electric motorcycle. And by law, you have to, it's going to have to conform to the same standards of a motorcycle. So you have to be 16, you have to be licensed, and you have to be wearing a helmet. It is Indiana law, so the Jasper police would have to abide by that law. So in essence, nothing, we don't have to change anything because it's law already, correct? So from that standpoint, I don't know, you know, it's up to the officers whether they're going to enforce that. And one of the things that's a little tough is it's kind of hard to distinguish that particular one from one that's not. But usually if you're going down the road at 25, 30 miles per hour, you get passed by a kid on an e-bike, it's probably unclassified. So that is a problem there. But I think that the chief made a great comment. He goes, this falls in the area of education. And the police department is going to be working a little bit more diligently on educating families and the companies that sell these in the area. There's a couple vendors that sell them, and I know the local bike shop does not, because, you know, it is an issue, and unfortunately, parents are buying them and they're not aware of the fact that they are illegal for the kids to be on them. So that, from that standpoint, that's where we stand.
So having that discussion.
Sorry, I should have brought that up earlier.
And then just a couple other things. I did want to thank the mayor for putting projects on pause for right now to focus on things that are going on, what we budgeted for, and the unknown in the future. So that part. And then with the Skyline water concerns, thanks to the utilities for addressing this and finding a solution, and hopefully within the next couple of months, all of, I think, I can't remember what we talked about, the Board of Public Works the other day, we did several months in the work and they're getting that. And maybe other areas of the city also, not just.
There are other areas too.
I think Skyline will be 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah, 8 to 10 weeks, yeah, 7 months. And then just the importance of listening to residents' concerns. I had a resident that was concerned about the fire pit, that it seems like it's lit a lot and no one is sitting there. And I know Kale had a email the other day that they are working on a 15-minute refresh on that instead of 30 minutes. So if you're sitting there and let's say 15 minutes goes by and you push it again and you leave, it's not going to be another 30 minutes that it's burning, but 15 minutes. And I appreciate that. And then I was talking to an appraiser from Bedford the other day. She was appraising some property in Jasper, but she just said how impressed she is and her husband is. They come to Jasper a lot to eat, shop, and do other things. And she said it's very obvious that our community is well taken care of, well managed, very neat and clean. And I told her it's very intentional though. Things like that just don't happen. And again, because we have ordinances that regulate the size, the height of grass and weeds and waste accumulation and all those things Kenny gave us a report on. So I wanted to share that someone from out of the area was very proud of our community, just like we are. That's all I have.
Thank you, Nancy. Anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. John?
I'll second.
Second, Chad. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.